Now I know that this video is going to be long, but here's another step-by-step process of sourdough. So I'm adding 3 cups of warm water into a large bowl, and I'm adding 1 cup of active starter. Now I have my starter split up in a few different jars right now, so you'll see me pull it from a few different jars. I enjoy a more stiff starter. This one is a little bit more runny. You can see like all of the active bubbles in there. And what I'm gonna do is just mix this together. And yes, I did make a mess, and that happens every time I bake.
Oh, making a mess.
So I am adding 6 cups of flour because this is a double recipe, and I'm mixing it until it's a shaggy dough. Now, what I wanted to say, because I'm not going to add it into this video because it's already long, is I'm actually making 4 different things out of this one dough. So I'm going to take a half of it and I'm going to split that in half, and I'm going to make 2 half loaves of sourdough, and then I'm going to take the other half and I'm going to make pizza dough. So I will do another video on that so you can see the process. I like to simplify things. I don't use a temperature gauge. I don't use a scale, because I think that sourdough should be easy. It should not be complicated, and it should not be hard. And I think the easier it is, the more people are willing to try it. Once you get a shaggy dough consistency, you're going to cover it and you're going to leave it for about 30-35 minutes. Now, while that's doing that, I'm going to feed the starter, and I do a 1-3-3 method. So that means that I use 1 part starter, and then I use 3 parts flour and 3 parts water. And I'm just using warm water, and I use a local wheat flour to feed my starter. And you'll see that I'll get it to the consistency of about peanut butter. I do like a more stiff starter. I think that it holds up a little bit better, and it's a little bit easier in recipes. And so when I'm not using my starter, I do throw it in the refrigerator so it's easier to reset. All right, it's been about 30 minutes, so what I'm going to do is add 2 teaspoons of salt. I use pink salt. You don't have to use that. You can use whatever salt you like. So you're just going to put it on top, and you're going to do your first set of stretch and folds. So essentially, you're going to pull it up from the side and kind of throw it over. And you're going to quarter turn and repeat the process. And sometimes I do it a few more times to just kind of mix that salt in. And when you're done doing that, you are going to cover it and you're going to let it sit about 20 minutes. It's been about 20 minutes, so I'm going to do the next set of stretch and folds, and you'll see, because the way the dough is, you can kind of like gauge it to see what's best. I'm going to do coil folds from here on out. If your dough is a little bit more like runny or a little bit sticky, you can continue to do like the pull-up method and throw over until you can get to the point where you pick it up and it stays together. So this is second stretch and folds. Now we're moving on to the third, and again, I'm going to do coil folds. And every time I'm doing this, I'm going to wet my hands a little bit, and it makes it just a little bit easier because the dough is still a little bit sticky. So I'm going to do the same thing, grab it in the middle, pull it up, and then just kind of let it like fall. And you'll see me kind of shake it a little bit too. And I'm getting my hands wet again. Now, you'll see me at the end of doing my stretch and folds kind of grab the edge and then just kind of like push it under itself. I like to do that because it kind of gives me a gauge of how many more stretch and folds I need to do. If your dough is a little bit more wet and unmanageable and sticky, then you can add extra stretch and folds at the end. You don't have to do it to this recipe. You just kind of gauge it and see what your dough looks like. Weather, temperature, rain, snow, all of that actually does change the dough, so you kind of have to adapt. So this is a last set of stretch and folds, and you will see that the dough is a lot more manageable. Now in a second, you are gonna see me cut this in half. So this is a double recipe, and what I'm going to do is actually half the single recipes as well. I'm going to take one of the regular sourdough breads and I'm going to split it into two and make 2 half loaves, and then the other 2 I'm actually going to make a pizza dough. So this video is already like super long, so I'm not going to show that process in this video. I will make another video because it is very simple and it's the same recipe. After you do your last stretch and folds, you're going to let it sit on the counter covered for a few hours. While that's sitting on the counter, let's check on our starter. Now you can see that it has already doubled, and you can kind of like hear the fermentation. You can hear it kind of bubbling, and watch when I turn it, you can see all of the bubbles on the side. That's exactly what you want to see in an active, healthy starter. Now that the counter fermentation part has been done, so it's just been like sitting out for a few hours, I'm gonna kind of do my first shaping of this. So you'll see me kind of shape it into a little bowl. That's what it's called. And I'll do like the touch test to make sure that it is firm enough, and then I'm just gonna throw it back in there and let it sit about 20 minutes. Now what I'm doing now is getting the bannetons ready. I am using rice flour. It's a little bit easier, and you could see on the loaves it sticks better. And I'm getting those ready, and you'll see me pour this out now. So this has been sitting about 20 minutes on the counter, and I can tell just by feel that it needs a little bit more time sitting out. So I'm going to split it in 2. So that's 1 full loaf, and these are little half loaves. So I'm splitting it in 2, and I noticed that it's not as firm and it's not keeping its shape as good. So I let it sit another 20 minutes. After that, I'm going to do my final shape, and I'm going to throw them in the bannetons and do a stitching, and I'm going to put these in the refrigerator overnight. I've had kind of a busy day, so I'm really not able to bake right away. And you can bake these right away. You don't have to wait. The longer they sit in the refrigerator, the more sour the taste is going to be, and you're going to get more holes. So you'll see me doing the lamination where you kind of like lay it flat and then you fold it into itself. I'm going to throw this one into the banneton after throwing some flour on it, and then I'm going to do the final stitching. So that just kind of sticks it to itself, and it helps it with the rise in the oven later. So I'm going to cover these and throw them in the refrigerator overnight. All right, so now we are on to baking. I'm going to throw a little bit of flour on the bottom and put it on parchment paper. I'm going to do my design and my big score. So you want to do a big score at an angle. And at this point, I've already had my oven preheated at 450, and I have my Dutch ovens in my oven already, and they are getting really, really hot. And I'm going to bake at 450 degrees for about 30 minutes and with the lid on, and then I'm going to take the lid off after 30 minutes, and I'm going to bake another 15 minutes or more if you want it a little bit darker.